like I said last week, we wanted to put something together to try to help anyone out there, whether you're a coach, whether you're a player, to give you guys an avenue to still try to get better. Try to use these moments to teach our players and teach them really how to overcome this type of adversity now more than ever. It's very important that work we put in when no one is watching. We say that all the time as coaches, right? Well, now is that opportunity. How hard can we work when we don't necessarily have our coaches right on top of us? So our main goal is to make sure that everyone walks away with a new practice plan and a new level of excitement to bring back to your team and to your players today. You guys will be able to submit questions throughout the entire conversation. We will do our best to get to the questions at the end of every one of our panelists talking. Every question that we are not able to get to, we will answer it afterwards via email. So do not worry, all questions will be answered, and please feel free to submit them throughout the entire presentation. So with that, I want to be able to introduce every one of the panelists that we have today. We can take a quick moment. Our spark plug at the top of the lineup is going to be Duke's hitting coach, Josh Bloomer. Now, before Josh actually coached at Duke, he was also using Blast with his travel ball organization with Series Platinum. So you guys have the benefit today to get to hear how both a college and a travel ball can use this. In the 2-hole, we have Kaela Jackson from South Carolina. KJ has been the Gamecocks hitting coach since 2019, and in her first year, she guided her batters to a program record of on-base percentage, home runs, and RBI. In batting third, we have the ever-dangerous Heather Tarr from University of Washington. Coach Tarr was the first college to implement Blast, and it's been absolutely incredible to watch her team continue to succeed year after year. And in case anyone doesn't know, Coach Tarr has brought the Huskies to 7 Women's College World Series appearances, and she has won national championship in 2009, and that's the last time we're going to bring it up. Okay, Coach? Got it. And that's the last time we bring it up is because she actually beat me, so that's why. Batting cleanup, we're going to have the head of the Corona Angels, Marty Tyson. Marty has been coaching softball for over 20 years and has been a part of the sport, and I'm guessing here, Marty, I'm guessing 35-ish years. Corona Angels is an iconic travel ball program that is basically a pipeline to pretty much every Power 5 school that's out there. And then our surprise guest, we announced it today, taking us home is going to be USA's very own Aubree Munro. Aubree is the catcher for Team USA. She also played collegiately for the University of Florida, go Gators, where she won 2 national championships. So one heck of a lineup today, and we are going to get this started with Josh Bloomer from Duke. So Josh, please take it away and give us your insight.
So can you hear me? You're good. Okay. So first, thanks for having me. It's always fun to get out and talk softball at any opportunity we can. And so I appreciate the gesture to invite me to come on, speaking with all these other wonderful guests to talk about the game we all love so passionately. I guess for me, everybody's going to talk about different things, and we haven't really talked about, so there might be a little bit of crossover. But for me, I just want to talk about the journey we had this year a little bit, and then sort of shed some light on how we're using it now during this period of time, and how I personally am planning on using it to sort of guide us when we get back in the fall. And some of those things are very similar to what I tried to do in the past in my different roles with the travel organizations and my high school teams as well. Some of them are newer just because Blast has sort of updated some things that they've done just within the last week that have changed some of my reports I've been generating. So the first thing I would like to talk about is, like, I think everybody's got their own styles that they want to talk about. And it can be, whether you're trying to lead the country in on-base percentage or batting average or home runs or doubles, whatever that is, I think for me, metrics can help guide you to that. And so whatever your philosophy is as a coach in a program, I think this product and being able to use this type of information helps guide you to what you're trying to do. And so for us, we came in, and when I got the job, what I told Coach Young was, I don't care about how many home runs we hit. They will come. I said, what I want us to do is I just want us to lead the conference in extra base hits. And if we can win the extra base hits battle, we're going to win more games than we're ever going to lose. And so with that, that's from day one what I told them. And I said, I'm not going to come in and break down swings. For me, I'm not trying to create a swing at our level. I'm trying to I'm trying to change spark plugs, get new tires. Like, I'm not building a new engine. And so for me, some of our success can be seen right here in terms of where we were in 2017 as a program and where we ended up this year in a shortened season. And, we were actually able to break some records for a season this year with home runs. And we had some players that had just done some things that the program hadn't done prior. And so for me, you look at the red, like I think in the red this year, the greens are all the areas that we improved. And the plus is how much we've improved nationally. So, for us, in terms of our batting average, we improved 185 spots nationally to 26th in the country. And I'll be honest, we don't ever talk about batting average in our program. It's all based on quality at bats. And we have an in-depth chart, and that kind of guides a lot of the things we do. But, you look at the two red marks, triples are kind of an outlier. I think we were in a good spot. I actually think we were going to jump on that one. We're going to fire the infielding coach at our program. It just happens that he's going to be saved because he's also the hitting coach. So we're going to be okay there. I think they're safe. But for me, when I look at that, this gives me an idea of, are we on the right track? Like, are we on the right track with what we're doing? And so, we feel like we are. There's clearly areas that we want to improve upon. Our goal is to be playing in a College World Series. That is ultimately our goal, and it's everyone's goals. And so that's what guides us towards the end. And so some of these categories we've got to significantly get better, but we feel like we're trending in the right direction. And so for me, over the course of the season, these are some of the numbers I'm looking at, but then I kind of tie that into what are our kids doing from a metric standpoint. And if you go to the second and third slide, I'm just going to show you a couple of the things that I'm currently doing and that we do, and kind of shrunk this down. And so this is the blacked out on the left. It's actually the players' names. I changed it. So like my players' names are running down. And so like I just put this out. So this is one of our players. It's a freshman actually who came on campus. And so I'm tracking what they've done month by month. So what I did was I went through every single month. I took all their swings and I took these metrics that I'm valuing, and I'm just looking at them and I'm saying, what's the trend? And then for me, I'm looking at where do I see an area of significant growth, and what maybe did we do during that period of time? Because, we've got all of our practice plans and the things I've done. And then I'm looking at, like, is what we're doing for that kid working? Is it working for that player? Because what I do with one kid doesn't always work with the other. And so sometimes it's talking differently to them. Sometimes it's doing a different drill. And so this kind of now gives me an opportunity to reflect back. All of these metrics are actually within the BLAST system except for the last one. And I created that one in our Excel spreadsheet, and I got it from somebody else. It's just the bat speed to peak hand speed ratio. And so for us, it kind of gives us, we want that number to be over 3. So we want our bat speed to be 3 times as fast as our peak hand speed. If it's not, then we know we got some pushy swings. So we'd like to get our number as much above 3 as possible. We had a kid who was coming back from an injury, and a shoulder injury. And so when she came back and first started swinging, that number was in the 2s. And so I now look at that, and that tells me a lot of the things about why the other metrics were what they were. And so, I go through here and I give them some insight about all the different metrics. That's going to go out to them in the next week so that they get kind of a recap of, their season, things I might want them to work on individually between now and when they get back. And then also as a team, I do this for our whole team. And then it kind of gives me like, where are we struggling? And so I will just say, like, a biggest focus for us was trying to get our girls moving properly, trying to sequence properly. And so we really hammered in the fall, the lower body, trying to anchor with the ground, trying to create some stability. And so a lot of our numbers, when we talk about early connection and connection impact, aren't where we necessarily want them to be. But seeing that it's a general across the board, we have some early connection issues and some connection and impact issues. And what's happening as the connection at impact's really high, and then all of a sudden they're getting to where they want to be, it's telling me that I've got to do a little work in the fall about how we're creating that initial path movement. And we're just a little steep, turning the corner, but we're able to get there on contact. we'd like to increase that early connection number to where we want it to be, just so that we provide ourselves a little bit more room for error in our swing. And so you can look at the next slide, which is the next person. And she's, for me, like, the thing I liked about this player is this is a player who, so it's interesting. So, like, when they swing with this over the break in December, I'm looking for when they come back from the break. Like, one of the things I want to know is, what are those metrics like right after the break, and what have they done over the break, and can I build on where they are, or do I have to go back and refresh some things? And so, this person, we do not require, like, obviously we can't require them to do anything over the break. What I will tell you, though, is if you look at her numbers, though, when she came back in January and started using, her numbers didn't fall. Like, her numbers weren't down from where they were. So even though she may not have put her blast sensor on over the break, I feel pretty good that she was swinging. And so she was working. And so for me, if those numbers had dropped significantly, then I know that maybe she actually took that month off and she didn't do anything. And so then I know some different pieces there. At the bottom, like, this new player swing profile is awesome. Like, this, I literally just went through the other day once I found out about it, and did it for every single one of our players. And I've sent it out to them. And for me, it's, like, visually easy to recognize for them. So, like, for me, I'm a former math teacher. Like, numbers are fine. Everybody's not like that. And so for us, seeing they're in the green box a lot, and seeing where we might want to make some improvements is huge, because they see that and they go, oh my gosh, I'm nowhere near the green box in one of these categories. And that's what one of them said, like, I'm never in it. I go, you're never in it, but you're just right below it. So your rotational acceleration needs to come up. And so for me, like, that's how we're using it right now. Obviously, with the app and the things that go on there, it's easy to sort of say, here are some drills to go do. So if I'm at the travel ball level, I would do this with all of my players, and then I would say, here are the areas that I would like for you to move forward. And then you can easily go and see what those drills might be that you need to work on. And it just allows, in this day and age, when so many players are from all over, when they leave and you're not practicing, ways to communicate with all of them.
I love it. This is incredible. And for any of you guys who don't know this out there, Blast actually gives you guys the averages. So as tech savvy and as geeky out with the numbers as Josh is, we do provide those averages for you guys, so you guys don't have to do too much hard work, too much manual work. We're trying to make it very easy for you guys. Thank you so much, Josh. But before I let you go, I want to ask you one question.
Yep.
I have two really awesome ones, but I'm going to go with the second one because I think the audience might like this one the best. From a college coach's perspective, are you interested in receiving blast data or blast numbers from a potential student athlete? And if so, what's the best way for those players or those coaches, those travel ball coaches, to give you the blast data?
So I can only speak for myself. For me, yes. Because for me, there are some numbers that I need to know that a player can reach to play for me. And so all averages aren't the same. All batting average, they're not the same. But these numbers are the same. And so for me, I look at every video. And now I've got more time, so I watch every video that somebody sends me via email. If that video has metrics attached with it, I don't have to guess what that is. Like, I can look at it and I have a pretty good idea of, like, that bat speed might work. But if I've got it in the video, like, it solves my problem. I will tell you that for us, we use Blast before every game during BP. And I will tell you, for us, every time we take BP, our kids actually have their phones in the cages looking at their numbers, and we use 4 metrics every time. We use bat speed to peak hand speed because we want to see that ratio. We use rotational acceleration, and we use attack angle. We go to a 4-metric view every time, and the kids have it in the cages. They're always using it so that we know it. And so it's just telling them where they are. So those are things that I like when I get videos. So I do want the numbers. For me, I don't care about T numbers. I don't ever look at what a number is off of a T. I want to see it off of a moving ball. And if you can do it off a machine that's actually throwing, it gives us even more information, because it's as much as you can simulate what you're going to have to compete against at our level and show that you can compete in that sort of environment, the better.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Josh. We appreciate their insight. That was incredible. Thanks again. So now we're going to kick it over to my SEC girl, KJ. Take us away.
All right. Can you hear me? All good? Okay, because I am that girl who doesn't know anything about technology. So I am the opposite of Josh, and I am so grateful that Blast does all the numbers for me, because I don't even like dividing my girls into groups. I'm like, there's 4 cages. There's some of you guys, figure it out. And they know. They're like, you play in the dirt for a living and you're good at one thing and you're doing it, coach. So just keep doing you. So that's me. So thank you, Josh. That was awesome. What we have been doing, the Gamecocks have been kind of just absolutely thriving off of Zoom. You guys can see our Zoom call that we had the other day there on one of these slides. And you can see that some of the girls had some fun with the backgrounds. We got stepbrothers in the background there. We also saw a lot of dogs, a lot of different things. So we had a really good time catching up, just kind of checking in with each other. And we have weekly meetings that we're just kind of FaceTiming with each player. Each group goes to a coach. We FaceTime with them and just kind of get updates on how they're doing and how they're handling things. So we're having a good time, and just thank God for technology. It's pretty fun to get to see their faces. For us, though, I'll tell you, really, it kind of hit, and we dropped everything, and thank God they got their bats. But our blast motions, our sensors are all stuck in the hitting facility, and we're waiting until we're allowed to go in. And I think a lot of people are stuck in that right now. So I just, for me, I know I trust my girls. I had one of my players today, when I FaceTimed her for our meeting, she was like, Coach, I bought a bow net. And I said, you bought a what? Now, you remember these girls are Southern too. So they're like, I bought a bow net. And I said, okay, well, let me see it. And she showed it to me. And then she got the biggest bow net that you could possibly find. I think I'm like, okay, well, you bought a field. Great. That's awesome. That's good for you, buddy. I'm happy for you. And she's like, I can't do this no more. I'm like, all right, sounds good. So we're getting there, but they're all happy and doing well. So that works out. For us, I really appreciate the blast because of the accountability. That's something that whenever I sent them home for winter break, it was fun to kind of check in and see what am I getting here and who's doing what. So with us, I'll just kind of share with you here. This is what our winter break package looks like. For me, just personally, I like to give them a message as a team on that first page. So every year I'll give them a USB drive and it will have this message on there. So I make them come in and I'm telling them from the very start, this is what our goal is. So we should not be thinking about any other goals except for where we're going to end up. So from the very, very start, the goal and the mission is clear for the 2020 World Series. So for the girls, they read through this, it kind of pumps them up, and it's all just in my words because I'm kind of spunky, so I just kind of vomit on the paper and they get excited, and I don't know, it's just me on paper. And then on the second page, I kind of give a personal message per player. So that's my time with them of, I understand this is what you went through in the fall, you've done this, you've overcome this, you've done this many things, you've accomplished this, you've met these goals, now this is where we're going. So that's just like my personal little message to them. I feel that my coaching really thrives with the culture that we have and my ability to relate with the players. So that's just kind of, again, my style. Then on the bottom there, I have our focus that I would like her to work on. So again, these are just things that we've been working on in practice. I'm not going to teach you something and have you go home and work on it like you've never heard of it before. This is going to be stuff that we've been working on all fall, all preseason. We're really getting you prepared. There you go. So this is just reminders, keywords, key phrases. And there at the bottom, these are just some recommended drills. So those are things that she will know. It's not that she's got to look on YouTube and find something and I don't know how I can fix my barrel from doing this, that, and the other. It's just simple. These are the drills that you need to bring you back to make you your best athlete. So they kind of should know that going into it. For me, I think that, it's funny, my dad always told me there's a huge difference between a swinger and a hitter. And you want to be a hitter, Kaela. And I thought, I love that phrase and I will never forget that. And I think it's a big part of it because you look at your swing and what blast can help me with of identifying things and nerding out, like Josh was talking about, right? Like just super passionate about, now he knows what these numbers mean a lot more than I do, but I'm just geeking out over it, right? Super fun, it's exciting. And now I can learn, how do I help this girl understand it? How do I put it in words that will make her really get it? And that's what I think of with the swinger. Okay, my job is to help them have their best swing for the pitch. Now, when it comes to hitting, we're pretty simple. I'm blonde, people, okay? I'm blonde, and I was raised in the South, so we keep it simple. All right, so for me, the simples of hitting are tracking, barrel awareness, and release. And I tell our girls when we're training, we're either training tracking, barrel awareness, or release, because I'm telling you what, they will come off with some crazy thing that you've never heard of, that, coach, I got all these problems. I think I'm doing this. And I think when I watched her do it, she did this. I'm like, well, you're 5'11" and she's 5'2". Could be a difference, you know? So you got to get them simplified. So for me, I'm talking to them and I'll say, okay, coach, I just feel like I'm way out front on everything. Well, we're going to talk about your tracking first, because you're jumping way out here. So we do a ton of training on vision, but I don't let them go into I'm in lunging mode until I know, well, your eyes are jumping way up there. We need to get you back here. So try to simplify. Is it tracking, barrel awareness? Did you track it deep enough? Were you right on time? Yes, coach. Well, our barrel awareness, I'm losing my barrel back here. And then sometimes you just have kids who are just so dang fast at our level that they don't realize they manipulate the ball after the ball hits the bat. You know, so you'll see them just whip off of it and you're going, great, your bat speed was outstanding, but that was terrible because the ball's at the shortstop, right? So that's the kind of thing that we really want them to be able to take these numbers and what do they mean? And the best example I have is I had a kid who was super analytical, super smart. She's going to be a doctor, which is both exciting and terrifying, because if you met this kid, you'd be like, So she's super silly, and she tells us, okay, coach, my bat speed is insane. Like, I'm in the 80s. And I'm like, okay, let me watch this. And I'm thinking, this kid's tiny, but okay, let me watch. And sure enough, it's 80, 80, 80. And so she's like, yeah, it's 80 miles an hour. And I'm looking at every single ball's going into the side of the cage. And I'm like, oh God. So we talked about, okay, well, what if we slow down your bat speed and let's measure now the exit velocity. And her exit velo went way up and she needed to kind of bring it back down a little bit. So it wasn't about just trying to doing that, but having blast really helped her just simplify, oh, it's not about getting the highest number. It's about getting the most efficient number. And that really worked for her. So it was really fun to kind of and interesting to see how this is going to play out. I am interested right now in gathering as much data with my blast sensors as I can. So that way I can study it and see where we can improve for next year. But that's, I guess, what's going on in Gamecock country. And yeah, we sure do miss everybody, but it's good to see everybody on here. This is fun to nerd out with you guys.
Right? Isn't it fun to geek out? I always have the biggest smile when I get to talk hitting with so many of you guys. You know, I think one thing that you touched on that is very relevant for everybody, there's so much different lingo out there. And the majority of the time, we are saying the same exact things. You know, for me, when I'm talking about what plane is or what connection is, and I explain it to someone, they go, oh, I'm already teaching that. So now you're telling me you could give me a number to that? So I think what you said is so relevant to everyone else out there. And I just had one quick question for you, KJ, because it's another issue that I think people have too, is when you incorporated this technology to your team, how did you eliminate the scare factor for them and for them to understand, you know, this is just another tool to get you better?
Sure. For me, we're very honest with our kids, and I think I get that from my boss, who I played for too, as, you know, we're not going to sit here and tell you we know everything. And I think that what we told our players about it was, this is a way we can get better. And how exciting is it that your coaches want to be better? This is helping me be better. Guys, what can I learn from this app, from this industry, what all these other great hitting coaches are using? You guys are helping me learn and me be better. And our girls really just enjoyed that, I think. And, you know, then it became an everyday of, Coach, did you look at my numbers last night? Did you see it? Did you look at it? And I'm like, well, no, I had dinner and, you know, I had to walk the dog, but I'll get to it, I promise. And they loved it though after a while, because they felt that it was helping us somehow level up. You know, and I think that whenever we're asking them to prepare for the 2020 World Series, you know, the fact that their coaches are training too makes them feel better. So I think we're empowering them by showing we're ready to learn as well.
I love that. That's awesome. Thank you so much, KJ. I appreciate it. You guys make sure that you're submitting your questions in. We want to make sure that you basically drain the minds, these brilliant minds that are in front of you right now. So with that, we're going to now bring it to the Heather Tarr. Thank you so much, Coach Tarr.
Thank you for having me. I think one of the biggest reasons why we said yes to Blast is because of the people that were involved from the get-go. And I didn't know we were like one of the first to like integrate Blast into our program. I knew at the time there weren't many or whatever, but that's pretty cool. But we're still learning. And so when I watched part of the webinar last week, I saw Lindsay and them post some of the new reports that are kind of prototypes. And of course, I ask, well, what are those? How do we get those? Because I think we're always, as coaches, trying to find tangible ways to communicate all this stuff to players, because I think initially, like our first experience with Blast, like the athletes would look at it and then of course they see red and they see yellow and then one green. And although that's great because it's great feedback as it compares to the norm and all of that stuff, if you've learned a little bit about Blast and how the measurements and the metrics fall into place, it's that. But I think just being able to walk this journey with you guys and with Blast specifically, we just believe in the company. Whether we think that the metrics have actually like yielded results for us, I can't quantify that, I can't prove it, but gosh, it sure is good to not guess. And it sure is good to have a common language, not just like, you know, for our players and the coaches and all that stuff, but I think just we've never as a sport had alignment with language. So Marty and I work together a lot through players, and you know, you kind of start to use the players' language that they have coming in. And so I know a lot of Marty's language and his teaching skills and all that stuff because of the players that come into our program. But I think Blast keeps it a little bit neutral, and some of the measurements and metrics you can kind of use a little bit in the recruiting process. You can use obviously in teaching movements and where people are in time and space. But I think it's just such a cool tool. One, to like be able to work through the game from a measurement standpoint with a company of people that are great, but also just be able to walk the journey with our team and learn as we go and as the technology develops. Okay, so
I'm sorry, I was muted. I didn't mean to cut you off. Sometimes I forget that this is like a live webinar and you're going and I'm not just having a conversation with you. I can't help it. I just love listening to everyone so much. And I know no one wants to listen to me, so I'm going to go back on mute. Please keep going, Coach Tarr.
No problem. Okay, so this graph, we just got the file to be able to input the Excel file from Blast into this. And so I don't want to talk like I'm this expert on this, but I mean, I kind of understand how Excel works and how data works and how Blast data ultimately is their CSV files. So you can put those in. And so what I like to see is trends. So what one of our coaches did for us is put the data yesterday that we had from January into the swing profile thing that is somewhat new to our eyes. And so the 4 columns there measure things that if you're familiar with Blast, you'll appreciate them. If you're not familiar, you're going to be like, whoa, this is a little bit overwhelming. But what I like to see is where we're at on the power metrics. I mean, we're way bottom left. I mean, I don't know if you guys know any player that has a rotational acceleration of 25 and a bat speed of 75, but show me that person and we'll try to recruit them and see if they have the mindset to be a hitter. But you know, we're kind of all over the place in there. We're definitely barely even scratching the surface of the green mark. And then as you go along from the left to the right, you're looking at like, oh, well, how is our contact? And you're like, well, that kind of sucks. Like, shoot, in January, we're all the way to the left compared to the norm, and so on and so forth. Our load consistency, you know, like kind of like Josh was saying, like some of the things are a little bit high and steep and all those kind of things. That's what that means to me. And then the impact position, I'm like, well, there's where we're at. Like, we have good bat to ball skills. Like, we can get to where we want to be when we need to be there. So a lot of the stuff that we do in our program, how we do it centers a lot on being where your bat needs to be when it needs to be there. Now, some of it's with your mind, some of it's with your eyes, some of it's how you move. And in the end, what we've realized is you can have a perfect swing on blast. You can be green, 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 but you still can't hit in games. And so it's really not something that we really obsess ourselves over, but gosh, by all means, like I'm saying, look, we're not going to guess. We're going to know where this information's at. We're still going to recruit the kind of players that we want. We're still going to endorse like good bat to ball skills. We're lucky we have all 3 coaches on staff, not including me, can throw live batting practice. We can put stress on our swings through the machine environments and see where our swings break down and why they break down. And ultimately, we're trying to win the last game played in Oklahoma City. That has always been our goal. And so if we can work backwards from that moment and that point, then if Blast helps us, great. And we definitely use it. When we all had to leave campus, some of the gals brought Blast home. Whitney Jones, one of our coaches, is amazing with Blast. She probably actually should be on here and not me, maybe next time. Because she's just really good at it. She's a strength coach by trade, a softball player, you know, through her college experience here, but she's really good with a lot of the movement stuff. But I think what I'm trying to say is some of the gals brought their blast sensor home, and then before our city and our state shut down, Coach Witt and our director of ops sent everybody their sensor and their charger, and then we got told by our conference, like, you can't use measurements or you can't track people and coach them in that way. So we're kind of in limbo in terms of like what we can and can't do for this period, but I don't care about that. Like, what I care about is if our players actually want to use this thing. And I think this graph actually that's pulled up right now will help them know, like, oh, I know where we are, I know where we need to be. And I think they're educated enough to actually coach themselves during this period. So I'm excited to see what happens with them using the technology and going from there. So that's about all I have to say right now.
That's awesome. You know, there were 2 things that you kind of touched upon that I kind of want to elaborate a little bit more. It's like, one, that if you guys are out there that don't know our system, when you hear Coach Tarr say we're in the green or we're in the red, we have the ability to basically tell your athletes where they compare to all the other athletes that are their own age group. So they're really going to get that instant feedback of where they need to improve on based off of everyone else who is using Blast at their same level of play. And then the second thing I want to say is, Coach Tarr, like, you're completely right. Like, no one at Blast ever says, here is the recipe to make an All-American. Thank you for buying this. Like, that's not it whatsoever. Like, we are just another device that gives you quality insights, can track that accountability, and can help give drills to improve on our athletes, trying to make them better. That's what we're trying to do at Blast. The same thing what you guys are trying to do is give those players another inch to improve and help them achieve whatever dream it is that they're trying to get out of our sport. So thank you so much for saying that. And just a really quick question that I have for you, since you kind of were the trailblazers for us from the college perspective, when you first implemented Blast, what did that workflow look like? Like, what was kind of the first thing you changed? And maybe what did you learn that you wanted to change quickly to try to make it flow better with your own workflow?
Oh, that's a big question, but I think
I know, I'm sorry.
That's okay. We first got involved with Blast in the middle of a season. So as all these awesome coaches on this panel know, that's probably like not the time to start like noodling on the situation and on the technology. So it was actually kind of cool because just during practice, unfortunately not in games yet. I mean, this is when things are really going to go off, is when the bats start integrating the sensor. But regardless, it just started like, okay, let's just collect. Let's collect data. Let's not really look into it. So we just used that whole, I guess it might have been, I don't even know when it was, 2017 or 18, when we just let it roll and we just collected data. Because when you started getting into it and looking at it, one, as a coach, like, you got to be careful. You got to really know what you're looking at, because you have to stay ahead of the learner, or let the learner obviously guide you a little bit, but we didn't know enough to even like use it. And so we just collected the data and tried to look at it in the best way possible, and then talk to other coaches that we know understand what it is. And I think the hardest thing for me to understand at first was the load and where the bat was in like the starting place, and then where it was when it's like really measured where the first early connection mode was, and then at impact. And so I was just like, where I can't see that. But now, like, you know, 24 months later, you're like, oh, well, duh, look at that person right there. You see the green and you see the red, that's where you are. And then, you know, at first you're like, I don't believe this. It doesn't really know. And then you're like, okay, it kind of does. And then that person, yeah, I can see they're kind of this way on this, and then, you know, this. And then I think, you know, it's kind of cool. One summer I had an extra sensor, and it was with Aubree actually in the national team, and I had it in my pocket, and I would just slip it on bats, like with Michelle Moultrie specifically. This is where I really started to believe in Blast. I was like, holy crap, her rotational acceleration is like 25 at times. I'm like, what the heck? You know, so you start seeing like some of our gals are, our best hitters are at like 7 or 12. And then like someone like Michelle Moultrie is that. And so it's really cool to know that everybody doesn't have to have the same things, but there's so many special characteristics that this can measure for every hitter, that there can be positives with pretty much every metric for every hitter. So I don't even know if I answered your question, but I think I said what I wanted to say.
Well, my question was not direct. It was very all over the place. So I thought you did a great job, given that I botched the question. So thank you. All right. Now to the king himself, Marty Tyson. Teach us.
All right. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right. One of the cool things about this is I got a kid that plays for Josh now. KJ, I got a kid coming, and Heather, well, forever. You know what I mean? And so you start understanding the thought process of what we're doing. So I'm a travel ball coach. So just the different things is about building and understanding about, okay, well, hopefully my finished product is going to step in and be able to play. So I tell travel ball coaches, my goal is, yeah, to get kids scholarships, but the focal point is, what does your kid do in college? Like, I just don't want my kid to go. I want my kid to start for Josh. I want my kid to be impactful. So these are the things that we focus on. So the first thing is pull up the first slide. You guys got the first slide? All right, so I'm not a tech person, so what this has is driven me to be a tech person. So we had our first Zoom meeting. And our first Zoom meeting was, okay, our identity. Phone. Is that our first meeting was, and I literally got this from Heather. Years ago, I went up there and watched Heather them, and after practice, Heather made all her players write in a journal. Man, that stuck with me forever. Is that, so we start like understanding the thought process is like, so what my goal is. I always have a goal to go in practice, but then how do you know that your players understood or retain what you were trying to get out of practice? So this week is that being a Corona Angel, we talk about the numbers. All you got to talk about numbers, but at the end of the day, it's that person holding that bat that creates the numbers. So the first thing we did in our meeting this week was approach. So man, we all focused on approach. Like, what's your approach? So we focused on, I wanted 2 goals, our approach, and then being energy and being present in the moment. So that was my goal. And so this is CT's email. They had to email me by Friday, by 8 p.m., what the Zoom meeting was about. And so CT was like, well, our whole focus was on approach. And a lot of us said it was, we think we're doing what we get in the box. And I said our mindset. And so I told them, like, approach is like your guidelines, what you're going to do when you go out there. So a lot of the kids didn't, like, we're supposed to be a high profile program. A lot of our kids couldn't express what approach was. So man, we got it done, and we figured these things out of what we're doing. So this is just one of the things that we do. Every practice that we practice, like we practice on a Sunday, they got till Tuesday at 8 o'clock to send me what practice was and how it relates to them. So this is our first step, was understanding our identity. So trying to keep our identity of who a Corona Angel is and what is our approach at the plate. All right, then you go to the next slide. So now this is, okay, man, about reaching, we got 25 teams. And so reaching kids, what the Blast has done, first, I'm gonna say this. I was reluctant to first come on this panel because I'm like this. I use the blast. I'm telling Shari, well, I'm doing it different from them. And as we talked about, just what every one of you guys said about the green and the red can be stressful to people at times. And so we had to train our whole organization. Like the first time I saw the blast, like Maddie Husky emailed me her numbers on her swing. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm trying to figure it out. Then Vanessa and Shari came to my building. And I'm like, well, you know what? I'm not really kind of like gonna buy into all this or whatever. So they had to convince me. And so what they did was they left a sensor with me. And so I let every hitter that come through it, I put their numbers in and just let them go for that 1 week. And so the numbers came back, and this is what I got from it of how we use the blast, because everybody's different. Everybody's going to use it different. And I was telling Shari this week, I was like, well, I do use it different from everybody else. And she says, Marty, but you're still using the blast. And so it's like, okay, well, this is my process. This is how we focus on of what we're doing. So many ways of doing it. So this week, I got Alyssa Aguilar. She's a left-handed hitter. She's one of our 8th graders. And so we're supposed to press play. So I'm breaking down on the analyst of the swing. I'm analyzing her at heel plant. So this is where her problems. Are you guys? I don't know if you guys were able to play it. It's like 35 seconds. Can you guys play it? Donna said they were going to play it. Okay, well, if they can't play it, is that?
What would be is at a 90 degree angle. Your barrel's completely flat. Your knee is open. Just look at the video in the line graph. Flat.
So
so you really got to focus on keeping your knob.
We got that. Let's go back. We'll get it fixed.
All right, that's no problem. And so as you see in her video, her barrel's completely flat, like being at a 90, like we said, being connected. Well, she's never really going to be connected well because her barrel's not at a 90. So her barrel was like at a 32, you know what I mean? And so I'm being able to break down their swing, analyze it, and then send it back to them. And they hear my voice. I'm not that tech savvy, so now you got lines, you got launch angle. So man, you put in the line and press the button, and the launch angle appears. You know what I mean? The angle of her bat appears. So being able to communicate with so many kids now, like you said, I'm at home all day. So now send me video, and I'm gonna break down your swing. And I'm like, hey, I swing this video 2, video 1. So you start understanding what the blast does. So now as we go and we say these things like this. So I think that the blast, moving to the next one, it's about isolating things. So this is what I like about the blast. Like everybody, all right, I'm in the swing. I've had this for like a week, and all I've done is, man, I just learned cut and paste. Like I didn't know how to, to get the report, you got to paste. So man, all right, center C is copy, and center V now is paste. So I'm learning how to cut and paste. So KJ, you got time. And so now this is what we do. We say in tracking progress. So this is what I say, the blast tracks progress. I get to analyze swings and break it down, and they can hear my voice. They can actually hear my voice. So as I say, man, these are the things that we look at. So this is what's gonna be a little different, is that we're gonna spend on 80% up. So, all right, our launch angle is gonna be different from a lot of people. We spend 20% down because we're looking for a ball up, we wanna attack it. So when we first did the launch angle, we look at this is Rabbit, and she's going to South Carolina. Is that so? Her bat speed was 53. Her rotational acceleration was 10.6, and so as we go, her attack angle was 11. So you start understanding it. And the other thing that I think about the blast is awesome, Josh. We do what you do, but in my hitting facility, I put a big TV up. I put a TV up. So I got the one sensor where everybody who swings is gonna read on the television. So we said, man, for curveball, all right, man, our attack angle. Screwball, our attack angle. So we start understanding the process like this. We get the people at the World Series. Shane Knight hit 2 home runs off Richard Garcia on 2 missed rise balls. So then, okay, we work missed rise balls. In practice, on the machines, we're gonna work missed rise balls. Well, okay, what's your attack angle? So when they see the red, we had to literally have organizational training where, okay, it's gonna say red. All right, so man, so we worked on +4 to -2, like that. So man, when they did what did their eyes tell them? So man, when they hit the curveball and it was a +4, I says, okay, Well, you see what it was. So they actually see, forget me talking about it. They can see the numbers and then actually see ball flight. So that's what the TV does. It eliminates me screaming at them or telling them this or telling them that. It's like, okay, well, okay, +6 on this pitch gets you that. So then you got to start being able to understand it and do it to be able to execute it. So I think that has been a huge thing as far as with what I do. Now moving to the next slide. The next slide. All right. Oh, no, go back. Sorry. I was saying next slide. All right. This is Corby Otis. Heather, you're talking about 20. Corby Otis is, man, she was all tournament team at the PGF. She's been in our program for 2 years. We won a national championship in 14s. They took third in 16s. She's a phenomenal hitter. Man, her rotational acceleration is 20. And so you start understanding the thought process of, okay, well, her attack angles too. So you start understanding the thought process of what we want. And like I say, it's a fit for what we do here because we say, man, we're looking like Kay just said about the World Series. Well, this is how we train. Man, even though I'm not competing for a World Series, I'll prepare my players for this is the reality of the World Series. I say, man, Minnesota, Amber Pfizer, what does she throw? Barnhill, Florida, what does she throw? Rachel Garcia, what does she throw? Hey, Heather had a two-headed monster. All right, Montana Fouts, what does she throw? Hey, Samantha Shaw, what does she throw? Taylor McQuillan, what does she throw? So you start to look like, okay, well, we want to win the World Series. Well, what are the pitches that are being hit at the World Series? Like I said again, I'm not gonna get, like I say, my kids who train with me, I says, man, just Giselle Juarez. Well, man, anytime she throws down, it's usually off speed. So, hey, we're not looking at down. Hey, look for what you're gonna get. You're gonna get two things. You're gonna get backdoor curve or curve. So then, okay, we're training for that. And so those are the things I say, man. So, and learning the newest, like attack angle. Heather, you said about the load. And the other thing, the other matrix is contact. Like, okay, stand in a large zone. Like, so, man, I want my kids to already be able to step in on campus. What are you saying? What are you saying? I already know. And so I say that's the asset of what we're doing. So now that we go to the next slide. So now it's reaching our kids. So man, we usually do lessons all week, right? So I went to virtual lessons. So now I'm like, okay, each week, the first lesson was, the first week was bow and arrow, the bow and arrow effect of the load, like getting them to do the bow and arrow. The second lesson week was large zone. Hey, this is a large zone. And like me and Dean are actually doing all the drills. So these are the drills you're gonna do for large zone. And then this week is, again, I say the absolutes is staying inside the ball. Like you start understanding the thought process of what we're doing and how we're doing it. So just reaching, well, what I love about the blast is whether it's my opinion, Josh's opinion, KJ's opinion, man, I can train the hitters in what we want. Like, okay, all right, I'm looking for +3. Hey, you may be looking for something else. Hey, when we're hitting rise ball, -1 is fine. So I'm giving you guys that, like my players, when we send things to you, we only work up. So you get what I'm saying? So you start understanding the thought process. So I love the blast. It's making me tech savvy, KJ. I just learned cut and paste this week. So you got time. So that's what we got.
That was awesome. So is anyone else out there want to go hit right now? Because I know I do. Just from that speech. Thank you so much, Marty. I think the biggest takeaway from what you just said is, Blast can do and give the feedback in so many different ways, but there's so many different teachers out there and there's so many different learners that we need to make sure that we're giving the data to our geeky ones, and we're making sure we're giving the visuals to our visual learners, and we're making sure that the videos are there. I mean, the fact that your players right now have to train at home and they can send you the videos for you to analyze, that's key. That's key. So thank you for sharing your insights. For time purposes, I'm going to quickly bring it over to Aubree. Sorry I can't ask you a question, Marty, but I'll send you all the ones that I'm sending in. Thank you.
All right.
So now I'm going to kick it over to Aubree. We wanted to bring a player in, and specifically someone from Team USA, because, I mean, they were preparing for the Olympics until this whole thing happened. And just like a lot of your guys' players that are out there, seasons were cut short, whether it's from college or high school or travel ball. So Aubree, will you please share with us kind of what you're doing to try to stay motivated, what you're doing to stay active during these times?
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? All good? Okay. Well, obviously it's not how we planned it to go. I feel like everybody feels that way. But while everybody feels that way, that kind of means that we're all in the same boat. Everyone's having to adapt. People are going to technology, things like that, to stay connected, to keep getting better, which is awesome. So I think everyone's in the same boat, which to me is encouraging a little bit. I've been dreaming of being an Olympian since I was 10 years old. So when the announcement for postponement was made, I was definitely frustrated. I 100% understand why health is the first and foremost at all times. So I understand, but it was still like a lot to process. We had the tryouts last October, and the tryout process is just brutal. It's so much on the mental state. So just thinking about how long it took to get into the program, and then to be with the program, not knowing if we're going to be in the Olympics. And then my first summer, the vote was made. So it's like, okay, I'm going to stick it out. So just kind of processing the changes that are just coming for everybody. And I don't exactly welcome change with a smile all the time. So for me, I took a day to kind of process. Our team got on a Zoom call, which was actually really good for us, just to kind of all come together in the way that we could, to just sort of remember what we're all about and who's in it with us and all that kind of stuff. So that was good. And we've actually taken to, we're calling them TED Talk Tuesdays. So we're basically getting on a Zoom call every Tuesday. And it's just a way for us to get connected regularly, but at the same time learning more about each other. We had talked about this the first night we all met for tour back in February or end of January. We got together and we're at dinner, and people are just talking about stuff that they're into, and we're like, we should do this on tour. We're going to be together so much. And then tour gets going, and we're like, we have no time for any of this. So this has actually created this crazy opportunity for us to do something that we had talked about. So Chitty got us started. Chitty, if you don't know her, Amanda Chittister, she's like one of the most passionate people you'll ever meet in your life. And she's kind of gone through this whole journey with nutrition. And so she's telling us all this stuff about nutrition which is beneficial for me, because I genuinely don't really know how to build a complete plate. So I actually learned a lot from my teammate about something that she's really passionate about. So it was just cool it's a way to learn more about each other. So I encourage any of the travel ball kids out there, there's so many resources for you guys to stay connected with your teammates, because I think that's going to be one of those things that, while a lot of us are frustrated that we can't be with our teams, we're frustrated that we can't get the same kind of work that we normally get. I think to make this as positive as possible, you might look back on this time and realize how close you guys got, because it was legitimately a choice. You know, you have to choose to get on a Zoom call sometimes. Like, whereas if you're showing up to practice all the time, and you don't have to really connect with certain people if you don't want to, but when you're getting on a Zoom call and you're really feeling that kind of like missing your teammates, missing that community, it creates an opportunity for you to really get to know people, and get to know people in a completely different space. Because I think we can almost hide behind athletics. We can hide, but it's a weird thing that we're not really conscious of, but we're not necessarily intentional with how we're getting to know people that are with us every weekend, weekly practices, whatever that looks like for you. And so really be intentional about this time, make the most of it, because I know for us, we want to win a gold medal. That's our goal no matter what. And this could very well be the thing that, just because we're being intentional about our time together, this could be the thing that we really, really lean on come summer 2021 is, wow, I know, like, just random stuff that I'm like, wow, I really feel like I know Ali Carter better, or I really feel like I know Ali Aguilar better, or all these things about our teammates that I've known for years, competed against for years. And now I know a different part of them that they were allowed to express freely. So I think it's just part of making the choice to connect and making the choice to see the best in the situation, because we're all in it together. Nobody can go to parks. Nobody can, I mean, some of these coaches can't even, like Coach Tarr said, can't even coach up their kids via data. Like, so we're all kind of in this together. So make the most of it.
Thank you so much, Aubree. I know that there are players out there that really needed to hear that, so we appreciate your insight. And thank you again to all of our panelists out there for taking time out of your day to help educate the masses out there. And thank you all who stayed on for this entire hour to listen to these awesome people. I know we did not get a chance to get to Q&A, but we, again, will make sure that we answer all your guys' questions via email. We'll get that to you guys today or early next week. Please don't forget to, if you guys are still thinking about trying to put together some remote coaching out there, you can head over to blackmotion.com, and we have some special pricing to try to help anyone who still wants to try to get some work in during these moments. By popular demand, we're going to bring this webinar back again next week, again Friday at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We have one heck of a lineup coming next week. We're going to have Jessica Mendoza coming on to talk about how she's seen technology be used in the sport of softball. Lincoln Martin is going to show us how he breaks down swings within Blast. And then J.D. Flint from the Texas Blaze is going to tell us how he coaches Blast specifically with his teammates or with his players. So thank you guys again so much, and we will talk next week. Bye.